All right, welcome to the Pitch Stack Podcast, episode 7. Today is April 30th, 2022, and today I have the pleasure of being joined in studio with my dear friend Matt Rodriguez. Matt, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well here in the flesh and blood. But
oh, phenomenal. The pun was there. I sent you the alley-oop. You took it. Nothing but net. That's what I'm talking about.
That's right. Like Shaq and Kobe, I think.
Shaq and Kobe, Rodman and Jordan, other basketball players that did cool stuff together. You know, that's what I'm talking about.
Woody and Buzz.
Woody and Buzz. I'm sure they got in some basketball, right?
I mean, basketball's a toy.
Yeah, that is fair. Like some pool basketball or something.
What if they inserted a Michael Jordan action figure into his toy chest?
Actually, did they ever do that on Toy Story? I don't know. This is going to turn into a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
I feel like they could have done a celebrity toy in Toy Story.
Yeah, that would have been badass.
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
Well, you're welcome, Pixar. That one's free.
Oh, man.
All right. Well, you know, we just got home. We're going to open up the mailbox. What do you say we slay some viewer questions?
Yeah, let's go ahead and lay them out.
All right. So our first question comes from future Pro Tour competitor. He's got about 11 days to get ready. John Owens. John asks, what do you think will win the Pro Tour? And Matt, what do you think?
Well, probably not Viserai.
Oh, yes. And we will get to that, to the great sadness you experienced this week. Oh, man. Yeah, that's not great.
I actually think that Prism is very well slated, but we can definitely talk about that once we get into the bans and stuff and reasons for that. But my opinion is definitely that Prism is probably stands the highest chance.
Yeah, I think so too. Prism feels really good right now. There's been a lot of lists going around and people are slowly tweaking the deck so that it can handle Chain and Starvo and Viserai. And I mean, obviously that's going to be, let's say 95% of the meta going in, it feels like, unless there's some weird new list that somebody hasn't brewed up yet. You know, I'm sure with the stakes on the line at this Pro Tour, a lot of teams have internal lists that they're not even willing to take to an armory or let anybody see a part of.
100%. And the thing is, it's like, it's really weird that that's a thing that occurs, but somehow a lot of tech just kind of goes under the radar. Right. It's weird, though. This is kind of a game where like there's such a small card pool and somehow tech goes under the radar.
Yeah, right. It's really bizarre. But there's just so many cards where you never see them in a list. And I feel like that's what's interesting, right? Is this is really the first card game to get to this level of competition solely in the net decking era.
Right.
Like, I'm sure it's happened with other card games, but the level of competitiveness with Flesh and Blood, it's so weird where you just like see cards that are never in a list. I feel like you have one guy on your team that just sits down and looks at every single card that's ever been printed, you know?
Yeah, 100%. They do a lot of play testing from what I understand. I've talked to a lot of people on these teams about their processes for play testing, qualifying, and kind of just running the gauntlets. But yeah, you know, alongside the Pro Tour will also be a calling that will put the Blitz format to test as well, and not just CC, but in a new way that I don't believe we've seen before.
Yeah, new Blitz.
Yeah, 3v3 Blitz. There's also another question that Jonathan brought up. He asked us, do we think that there will be more of these kind of callings where we might see 3v3, maybe CC or sealed for calling, perhaps draft?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I do feel like the real bread and butter of this game is Classic Constructed. Classic Constructed is beautiful. It plays like a chess match, and it's one of the best. Even losing, getting stomped is one of the best card gaming experiences, or just gaming experiences I've ever had. Just, I don't know. It's so good at sitting and thinking between turns that, I don't know. I think I like that they're doing this one for Blitz. 3v3 Blitz feels wonky, but, and I know I really hate to say this, but a a non-classic constructed calling doesn't feel like a real calling to me.
Interesting, yeah. I don't know. 3v3 has always been a very it's always had a very interesting rule set, at least as far as Magic goes, depending on the formats that are played alongside each other, right? But if it's all the same format, they have to have different heroes. And there are sometimes deck building restrictions in Magic for these 3v3 tournaments. I don't know if that's the case for Fab. I guess we'll find out when people start entering their deck lists or start preparing to play in this calling, or we see the live cast for it. But I think that, yeah, definitely CC is the bread and butter of the game. I think secondly, I feel like draft is a really important format for the game.
Absolutely.
That's where design space for each set really gets fleshed out. And not just for CC, they don't introduce cards solely for that, but they also balance them for draft as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things I'd like to see, and this is something they've been doing with Magic the Gathering for years, is hybrid Pro Tours, where like it'll be the first 4 rounds or like a draft, and then it'll be like 5 or 6 rounds of Modern, and then they'll do like then they'll like do like a top 8 cut to Standard or whatever. I think that would be really cool. Some hybrid ones.
I think they did that for the Nationals. Am I mistaken?
I don't know, because I wasn't following the competitive scene that closely when Nats happened.
I believe that Nats was limited to begin with, if I'm not mistaken.
Interesting.
Yeah, I remember speaking to some of our local guys while they were at Nats. I was playing the calling, and then the next day they were talking about CC, right?
Yeah.
So I do believe that they had a draft Nats format, and then day 2 or 3 were CC.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. It's interesting that they're not doing that for the Pro Tour, because that makes the most sense to me. I feel like that's the way to go.
Yeah. I don't know. I think we've already drafted Arya quite a bit. Everyone's a bit tired of that. I'm definitely tired of that. But I think the testing for CC has to be rigorous, and they're going to be playing 3 days worth of it, at least those who make all day. So it's going to be a lot of testing, a lot of grinding 50-minute matches. But yeah, it's going to test people's will and their focus for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm definitely going to I'd be lying if I said I wasn't going to like chill out on my couch and like sit there and watch it all day, because I definitely am. Looking forward to the coverage. All right, next piece of mail comes from Mr. Chris Bromley, aka aka Bromley. That's your nickname.
Future store owner.
Yeah, right. Hopefully. So we're Bromley, avid Prism player, but I think if we're gonna, I want to say you're the first Icelander devotee before it was cool. And I feel like this might be a bad sign, but you're asking, how does Icelander kill people? And I think the answer is like weirdly not with wizard cards. I feel like all the good Icelander builds I've seen have been like very aggressive elemental stuff.
Yeah, and like weird fire breathing, exude confidence plays.
Yeah.
And like running attacks like E-Strike. It's odd. I think her current card pool is limited because of her appearance in Everfest as a young hero.
Absolutely.
And she only has access to what was Arya and generics, of course. So she's kind of working with slim pickings, and her ice pool, at least in the blue slot, for pitch values is slim as far as non-attack actions go. There are some really great ones, you know.
Yeah.
It's always good to pull off that instant speed Channel Lake Frigid.
Yeah, right.
But as far as like having enough of those blue pitches to go around, it's kind of tough. I think she will be an insane presence in CC when the set releases, and we could talk about the set spoilers a little bit more today, because we actually saw the full announcement for Uprising a little bit after our podcast last week. Yes. So we know what we're going to be seeing as far as the rest of the heroes are concerned.
And like, there's something to be said about that where I can't wait for the next piece of big news the second we post this episode.
Yeah, tomorrow or immediately after tonight.
Well, Chris wrote us a huge letter, and so we're gonna get to. He asked some questions about dragons. That's right, dragons. In case you have been living under a rock, we'll talk about those soon. So he also asks, and this is, I think, very interesting. Is I know he meant Pro Tour, so I'm gonna give you an SIC on this, which is like when they change your words so it makes sense in a newspaper quote. Learned that recently. Do you think we'll get a Prism hit after the Pro Tour?
Oh, I hope so. I think that she has a lot of Living Legend points already. I don't know if the Pro Tour allotment will be enough to send her to Living Legend, but
I will be so sad.
I kind of hope she does.
I have one CC deck, man. I'll be so sad.
You're gonna need two now.
Yeah, right. Team Rhinar. I'll just be the every LGS needs a Rhinar guy, and I'll just be one of like the 7 we have.
Yeah, we have a lot of Rhinar guys.
That's because it's the greatest deck of all time. Rhinar Smash. I do think I got to think about this, right? I think it's weird, right? Because if you take away one card if you have to take one card away from Prism, I think it's either Haze Bending, which gives you a Spectral Shield token once per turn when an aura's popped, or they hit one of Merciless Retribution and Ode to Wrath. I don't think when they made Prism originally, I don't think they intended for it to be a control deck. And it slowly turned into like this weird Anaconda Strangly deck that's very difficult to regain tempo against. And one of the things I've noticed about Flesh and Blood is it's very much a game of tempo, and every single great game of Flesh and Blood has multiple tempo swings, and in Prism matches there's very few tempo swings. And I think maybe that would be why we see a hit, is that Prism matches they don't have that level of excitement that the rest of the game has. And so I don't know, maybe we do see a Prism hit.
Yeah, I don't know. It could be possible. They definitely like to review things as the new set releases. We will be getting an Illusionist for the new set, so I expect some sort of balancing to occur.
Absolutely. All in on Dragon Mommy. That's right. I said it. It was super cringe the first few times I heard it, but it's really become a part of the way I talk.
I mean, Dromai is kind of a badass name.
Yeah, right. Well, you know what? We've gotten this far. You know what? We immediately know what we need to talk about, but you know what we need to do first?
What's that?
We need to listen to the intro.
Oh, right.
You're listening to the Pitch That Podcast.
All right, cool, and we're back. And all right, so you know what? Let's hit the bans first. I mean, we Vorthosed out last episode. If you're not familiar with the common theory of 3 types of Magic players, there's the Johnny Combo player, the Timmy who likes just large, cool things, aka Rhinar players, and then there's the Vorthos who plays things based on the lore and the flavor. And Matt and we went full Vorthos last episode.
I would like to point out that we're missing an archetype there.
Oh, yeah. What is the...
Spike.
Spike. We forgot about Spike, but that's because he's ubiquitous.
Johnny the combo player, Timmy the dino player, and Spike the competitive net decker.
We're all Spikes. I think at the end of the day, it's like, I feel like there's 2 types of players in Flesh and Blood, and it's like Rhinar fans and Spikes. That's like... And I feel myself slowly losing grasp on the spikeness as I become a Rhinar fan.
I think Rhinar's fine.
I think he's great. He's the best. I don't know how to describe. There's this ineffable quality to Rhinar and the cards and just how ridiculous of a hero he is that is just absolutely unsurpassed in terms of like, I don't know. It does something for me that I can't explain. It's like seltzer water. He's an acquired taste.
Well, I know what does it for me, and that's making Runechant tokens.
Yeah.
And they're not as good as they used to be, sadly. So
yeah, let's talk about some bands. I was fine with them. I as a Prism player, it was a pretty cool day for me. We did see them use the suspended list, so this is a new thing they introduced, where essentially a card is banned until a certain hero is retired. Awesome.
Or banned until a new announcement.
Yeah, that's correct.
Because they said, at least for Blitz, they had suspended a few cards until the next announcement following the current or concluded skirmish season.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is awesome.
And they released the ban list early because we expected to see this on May 2nd.
Yeah, they released the ban list like an hour after we released last episode.
We were processing everything, and then I all of a sudden get like added, and I see Laugh Reacts, and I see Viscerai's picture, and I'm like, oh no. So yeah, if you haven't heard, Skeletor, well, yeah, let's just start with there. Let's just start there. Bloodshot Skeletor is suspended in CC until Viscerai reaches Living Legend.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's that.
I guess it makes sense with the super explosive turns. I personally thought that like Swarming Gloomveil was the card that was going to get hit.
You know, it makes sense. Skeletor has severely changed what the deck is capable of now. I will admit that prior to any of this, the deck was one of the most flexible.
Yeah.
As far as, you know, playing to your outs goes and your matches, the deck was able to play extremely aggressively in the aggressive matchups and into certain heroes, but into Guardian was always its hardest matchup. But until we got the OTK like hybrid deck, where your sideboard and parts of your main deck could help you pivot into a slower game where you kind of just build up Runechants and then slap your opponent for one big massive hit of damage. Once that came around, Viscerai started to really hit the scene and take a lot of wins, you know, and start taking down events. Yeah. So it kind of makes sense. So right now, my opinion is that Viscerai has been neutered as far as like S tier viability goes, and I think he's going to be B tier or bottom A tier for now until he can actually have tools to defeat Guardian.
Yeah.
I don't think that against Starvo, he has a great chance. And I think there's perhaps even worse of a chance against Oldhim. It's not impossible. I've played a few games against Oldhim since. Not really against Starvo, but aggro has been somewhat effective against Starvo in the past. And with the banning of Autumn's Touch or suspension of Autumn's Touch until Starvo reaches Living Legend, the block potential for that deck has gone down just enough to maybe have that bit of an edge for aggro matchups.
Yeah. I mean, it's really interesting, right? Because if you think about it, we end up, is it, okay, so Starvo is one of the few heroes I haven't sat down and played, but I played against him a bunch. Is it normal for them to run blue and red copies of Autumn's Touch?
They ran 9.
So they ran all 9. So they're losing 9 points of blocking.
I haven't played much Starvo either, but as far as my conversations,
who has the time or the money?
As far as my conversations have gone with our meta players for Starvo, I believe they ran 9 copies. So, but Breakground is also a great card, still serves the same offensive purpose, but it does block 1 less.
Yeah, and I think that makes it's interesting, right? Because so many Starvo matchups come down to like 2-3 health. That I think that makes a little bit of sense just to make them a little less resilient, because you can't have, and I feel like this was innately the problem with Starvo, is that Guardian needs to be a defensive class. And Starvo was weird because it was an extremely aggressive and defensive deck at the same time. And I feel like Starvo is now more in line with how they intended him to be in the first place, which is as an aggro, smash this hammer, hit the bell at the fair hero.
Yeah.
And, taking away those 9 points of damage is huge. Like, let's say in a given game, you're probably going to see 4 of those. And so there's 4 points of blocking potential that are now taken out. You're replacing them with a highly similar card. And you before we started recording, you said something that actually really resonated with me on this Autumn's Touch ban, where it is there to affect the micro decisions of extremely high level players. And you are 100% correct.
Yes. I think that's why I hear high level players discussing the impact of that on the deck. And I think that Shane has become much more viable and is seeing a lot more play now, more than he did in ProQuest. Although he had some pretty good representation in ProQuest, as far as winning and taking some top 8s.
Yeah.
But I think even more so now, because they understand the Starvo matchup a little better. Viserai is a little bit less represented now. And they play now a little better into Prism. I have not played too much yet of Shane or against it. As far as the new builds go, I guess that's definitely something I want to try out and test. But I'm sure I'll have opportunities in the next couple weeks as some of our local players prepare for Pro Tour.
Yeah, and I've played into the new chain build 3 or 4 times in the last couple of armories now, and I haven't beat it once. I've been really struggling with it, and I don't really.
Yeah, so you're Prism, you're a Prism main, so you have a lot more experience from that angle against that deck. So how's that been?
It's weird. It feels. I mean, I feel this way against any Runeblade matchup where I just feel quickly overwhelmed and I can't get anything done.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that is, and I'm going to guess like based on, because most Runeblade matchups are 40, 60, 50, 50 for Prism, none of them are that favored for Runeblade. And I feel like my Prism Mirror strategy is fine. My Guardian strategy is fine. But I think innately I need to sit down and rethink my strategy against Runeblade, because I've been really struggling with it and I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong.
So one thing and one thing I actually, not so much I think, I know. I mean,
to be fair, you absolutely stomped me with Runeblade 4 hours ago, so you probably have great advice.
Well, I could give you all the advice in the world, but it's not until you actually sit down and hold a hero's deck and play it, I believe, that you fully understand how to play against it.
That's fair. I do annihilate Starvo every time, though, so that's fine.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's just a great matchup for you.
That's fair.
But I think you would do even better if you sat in that seat and you played the Starvo deck.
So what you're saying is I should order that last Swarming Gloomveil and play as Viserai.
Well, I might have a Swarming Gloomveil if you want, but I might have a few things.
We're Rhinar.
But I'm gonna start playing some Oldhim and playing against Oldhim so I can have a better matchup against him.
That makes sense.
Now I've been trying to.
Is Oldhim traditionally a bad matchup for Runeblade?
Not until now.
Yeah, that's fair.
So prior to the tools we've been given and the ability to OTK as easily, the Runeblade, if you try to go aggressive into Oldhim, it's just not going to work. For the most part, there are chances for bad hands, misplays, all sorts of things. But assuming your opponent plays correctly and you draw pretty medium, average, or above average hands, Oldhim should win if you're going aggressive.
Interesting.
Right. But OTK Viserai had the advantage where he had these D-reacts where he could pretty much block any threatening on-hit effect Oldhim had, pretty much exclusively just the Oak and Old, because I mean even Endless Winter was like not that scary, you would rather just take the damage instead of blocking, because it creates frostbites if you plan on playing any kind of zero cost things on your next turn. But that always depends. So depends on what the hand looks like. But yeah, for the most part, those unmovable sink belows help you block enough damage to where you stack up your rune chance and kind of just pop off with the Skeleta and Arcanics. But that's not a thing now.
Yeah. Well, you know, so okay,
but adapt and learn. You know.
Now there is one more ban. So there is one more card, right, that got outright banned, not even suspended. They were like, "This was a huge mistake. We apologize."
Did they make a paragraph discussing their intentions banning that particular card, Awakening?
Oh, I know they did, and I know I read it, but it
would be in articles.
Oh yeah, you know, so I think one of the reasons that they got rid of Awakening is it created these ridiculous momentum swings. I
think the word is parity.
Yeah.
It breaks parity with the cost benefit analysis of the game, like risk reward, right? So it rewards you for doing nothing and then just taking damage and then opposing them with so much more, right? Like I'm not really forming the words I'm trying to express, but it's a very unfair card, essentially.
Yeah. And you know, it's interesting, right? So here's exactly what they said on it. I brought it up. Awakening has fallen into a place where it single-handedly trades for the most explosive turns an opponent can unleash for little cost. Awakening effectively trades the time and resources an opponent spends setting up their high-impact strategies for a devastating retaliation in the form of, effectively, a 2-cost Pulverize, Crippling Crush, or Spinal Crush. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that's terrible. I have memory of playing a blitz match against a Benji and just letting him hit me because my opening hand was Awakening. I'm like, sure, wow, it's easy, free. I mean, it's just crazy, you know. And my other card was Tear Asunder, so I'm like, oh, okay, sure. Just took all the damage, went down to like 3 or something. I was like, okay, Awakening, go grab Pulverize. Next turn, play Tear Asunder, play Pulverize. Oh, you can't block, take 15, discard 2. Cool. Pass.
You know,
it's kind of crazy. It's like, yeah, I mean, that not just Ultimate Blitz, like, you know, Starvo with Awakening is kind of crazy too.
Yeah. And so this is really interesting, right? So I started playing competitively like after Tales of Aria was released, but before Everfest. And I remember the first time I saw somebody play an Awakening, my reaction was like, no. Like, because I was unaware of the card until it was played against me. Like, I was still getting into the game, so I wasn't researching the card. But somebody played an Awakening, I was like, there's no way that's what it does. You're reading the card wrong. Like, that's such a ridiculous effect to have. Like, why would they ever print that? There's no way that's a real thing. And then I was like, what? This is super weird. And then I somehow, like, convinced myself that it wasn't that good. Yeah, it's fine. They printed it. It's like they haven't addressed it.
It can't be that good.
So I feel so vindicated.
I remember conversations leaving Nationals Hall in Orlando, walking out the very long way with some of the buddies we went there with, and talking about how like mediocre Awakening is. And this is from the Guardian main too, that in our little group there. And I'm like, I don't know if I agree with you, dude.
Yeah, it's insane.
And you know, either way, I don't remember exactly how the conversation went, but you know, opinions were mixed about the card as time before now, you know, and then I guess we've kind of just come full circle and realized, yeah, trading damage for like a free attack is kind of good.
Well, especially when I think about it, right? Because I think the card's perfectly fine in Oldhim, which is like significantly turtlier deck. But then now that it can like slide into like Starvo, and then obviously we're getting like more ice cards that could push Oldhim in a different direction, that I think not only is this banned because of these reasons, I'm sure there are cards coming out that make, you know, Oldhim more flexible. That makes this even worse.
And that's part of their initial announcement, is there are a couple things that they hit because they were concerned for future releases, right?
Yeah. I can't wait till someone solves the puzzle.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see the cards. We're like, oh yeah, that makes sense now.
We need to call all the Johnnies.
We banned it.
We need to get all the Johnnies here, the Johnny combo players. So what we're talking about, in case you haven't picked up on it already, is in the recent banned and restricted announcement, Stubby Hammerers, the common equipment, is becoming banned the day Uprising releases.
Not the only common equipment they got banned either.
Oh, yes, that's true. Yeah, it was one of two common equipments that got hurt. RIP my bulk box. I can't wait to see this. Like, it just set up an OTK, and I remember they spoiled when this came out, before the heroes were spoiled, and we'll get to that. When this came out, everyone was like, oh my God, are they printing Assassin? I was like, yeah, maybe
Stubby
they are.
hammers, 0 cost, 1 powers, and just like go infinite draw cards.
Kill target player is 1 shot. Like, I don't know how you build Assassin in Flesh and Blood.
Well, it would be interesting. I'm sure. But yeah, in Blitz, the big news actually is that Viserai has actually acquired enough.
This has been a terrible week for you.
I know, man. I just put the freaking deck together for skirmish season.
You were doing really well with it in skirmish too. I mean, obviously the deck was insane, but
he achieved Living Legend. So, I'm actually not all that mad. He's the first hero to actually achieve Living Legend. Like, this is something that we're like, oh, this is not gonna happen for a while. Well, Blitz had only 500 point maximum for Living Legend, and Viserai managed to scoop them all up in skirmish season 5. So he hit Living Legend, and as did Nebula Blade, the signature weapon.
Yeah, he accomplished so much so young.
Yeah, he was very young.
So I forgot about the Living Legend signature weapons also taking a hit, which is bizarre. So now there's no reason to ever play Nebula Blade ever again.
Well, eventually they're not going to have any options. So
that's true.
Talishar?
Yeah. Let's put the blade in Rune Blade.
Jeez, it's God. It's the same cost. Why would you play Talishar?
Rune Blade, RUIN. Talishar. That's it. It's Ruin Blade.
Oh, yeah.
Because it gets destroyed. There's a great joke there that I screwed up by explaining the joke before I made it, but I love it.
That's funny, actually. That's a good one. So Awakening obviously was banned in Blitz too, because
because it's a stupid card that does stupid things. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise.
Seeds of Agony was suspended in both Blitz and moved from the ban to the suspended list in CC until Shane reaches Living Legend.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So that means they suspect that Seeds should be an alright card should they print another Shadow Runeblade.
Which is interesting because I don't know how
Shadow Viserai.
Because the design. Well, so check it, right? So I was thinking about this. So that is actually the only card in Blitz that is suspended based on a Living Legend at the moment. But so I was thinking about this, right? So the thing about Seeds of Agony is that you can play it from your banished zone.
Yeah.
So what are they going to do? Print a 15 life Shadow Runeblade and now it's okay? You know what I mean? There's no way to make... Well, because the design space is so specific.
The problem was that Shane was able to just inherently have a go again ability.
Yeah.
So I think that in the future we may see a new hero rise up from the Demonastery, or we will see a reimagining of a hero like Shane, or a reimagining of Viserai in a classic battles.
Or we get a historic set and have Lord Sutcliffe himself.
Right, maybe.
What? Vorthos, it's back.
That'd be crazy. I mean, he's a mentor card. We know he's a character. He may not be alive, but...
he's a floating head. He's like a Zordon thing.
Alive? Okay.
Yeah, it's like a Zordon thing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, we could see Lord Sutcliffe become a Shadow Runeblade, but I think it's more likely we'll see a Shadow Viserai reappear with a new title, like a Starvo kind of deal. Yeah,
well, I mean, he has a shadow border. It's I feel
it's natural.
It's natural. The clues are there. We found it. Mystery solved.
And one of the other boogeymen of Blitz is not having a great week.
That's true. And
R.I.P. Carlos.
Yeah, so I gotta say, I might be a bit biased here, but gosh, I was so tired of playing against Wizards. I'm so happy that they hit Snapback and they hit Stir the Aetherwind. And I think what they wanted to do is they really wanted to limit the amount of instants that you can fire off per turn, especially with the deck running so many tomes, Gaze of Ages, and then now Potion of Deja Vu. Like, it was so possible in Blitz on turn 3 to have like a 15 card turn and just be able to play an insane amount of spells without really having to pitch all that much for the privilege of paying his instants. So thank God.
Yeah.
That deck wasn't fun to play against.
Snapback is a very, very strong card.
Absolutely.
Just the instant speed clause on that is, and for 1 mana for 3 damage is great. I mean, especially with all the buffers that you have, like Aether Flare, or even like Aether Wildfire already hitting. You know, I mean, Aether Wildfire usually spells doom for most games, but sometimes you can play around it. I haven't had much success, but I think this should help things a little bit, especially with like Stir the Aetherwinds being able to turn on a instant speed +3 damage Aether Flare was very, very scary. Also, one thing we didn't mention, which is really cool, now that we've finally seen a Living Legend hero, that when a hero achieves Living Legend, they have like a cool post congratulating all the players who have won events who earn that hero points.
It's like
a huge list.
It's like the end of Evangelion.
Yeah, like a whole list.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
It's like, congratulations. And we're gonna read all 300. No.
Oh God, no.
It took me like 6 finger movements to scroll through the whole list. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's a lot of people.
Congratulations. Yeah, I was like, yeah, I think that's I mean, I think it's well earned. Like, the deck was really good and it was cool.
Yeah, man.
And they left Skeleton in the format.
Well, yeah, well, I thought they no, they didn't hit Skeletor. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and they so what they did was they hit the other half of the combo, right? They got
Sonata. You're right.
Sonata.
Yeah, they did suspend Sonata, right? Or ban it.
Yeah. So it's suspended until the next scheduled announcement following the conclusion of Skirmish Season 5 on August 22nd, 2022. So that is 4 long months, a whole third of a year without Sonata Arcanix. And also Snapback and Stir the Aetherwind.
That's crazy.
And then let's talk about the most brutal banning in history, because this is fascinating to me. Because I mean, of the 7 Blitz decks they've printed, I think like 5 of them contain this card.
Yes.
I mean, that's probably not 100% correct. It's probably more like 3, if we're being honest. But Heart and Crossstrap got banned outright. The OG equipment. My God. Only in Blitz, obviously. But wow. That is fascinating. And I think this, so what's interesting to me is like it was a 2-sentence explanation, and I wish they would have like given some examples of it, and I get it. But Heart and Crossstrap is a no questions asked, start in play, 1 turn kill combo enabler. Like, they just go for the throat immediately. It's like,
what hero are we discussing?
Yeah, right. So that's why I was confused. And it's like, while this card has not had a glamorous existence to date, we're confident Heart and Crossstrap will become a common centerpiece of OTK decks if it remains legal in the Blitz format.
I guess it's maybe a preemptive thing. Like if they just expect like decks to evolve around the new meta or the Uprising meta. Because I mean, like Benji doesn't even want to use that card to begin with. He doesn't have 2-cost stuff. He wants to run Vel's the Vest, the Vel's Fist or whatever. So I don't know.
So they say in support of slowing the format down, they say the card hasn't really done anything to date, but they're confident it'll become a centerpiece of OTK decks. Stubby Hammers enables a horrific OT deck combo. All I can think is that LSS hired somebody really toxic to play test this upcoming set.
Yeah, I mean, if they figured that out, I mean, that's pretty sweet. I mean, that kind of raises a bit of confidence in the playtesting for a set if they're already banning things beforehand, like preemptively, letting people know that, hey, this is not going to fly, kind of deal.
They just, this OTK, like they're suspending this, and it's so funny to me. Literally 2 months in advance, they're just outright banning both of these cards 2 months in advance. And to me, it seems like the whoever's in charge of the ban and restricted list has probably got to a point where they're like, I don't feel like going to work today.
Well, here's this thing this phenomenon that might help explain this is I think this is not a terrible idea. Instead of waiting for the set to like just about to release. In Magic the Gathering, things have been known to occur during a spoiler season where a card is released and then people immediately freak out because they're like, oh snap, this is a combo card with the new card. This is a combo. And then they go on TCG Player and the card spikes. Yeah. So like there have been ridiculous spikes for old bulk rares that just shoot up to $18 out of nowhere. Until everyone and their mother goes through their bulk boxes and lists like the 8 heavily played copies they have on TCG Player, and then the card comes back down. Yeah. So I think that if they went into spoiler season not banning the correct cards preemptively, and people were to see these cards, there would be severe market fluctuations for like cold foil stubby hammers or hardened cross straps, which are already expensive cards, which they wouldn't be terrible purchases if you were to even make them, right? These are like alpha cold foils.
Yeah.
But anyways, if these cards got banned later on, the lashback would be severe. And I think those cards would see a large dip if they weren't playable where people thought they would be. So I think it's fine now.
Yeah, I agree with that. That makes a lot of sense to me.
I don't know. That's just my logic looking at it, and I think it just makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Points to LSS. I dig that. As opposed to like, letting every legacy player buy $300 worth of Ragavans.
Yeah, I mean.
And then bite it. So you know what? I think, that covers all the bans, right? I don't think we missed any.
No. There are a few other things to discuss, but just not really worth going over. We all know why certain cards were banned, and we kind of just went over it. So we don't really need to hash out what LSS has to say about Skeletor.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's just so many cards in hand, so much arcane damage.
I'll miss those days.
Big sad, much need help. So, all right. So we're going to get to the biggest, brightest, bestest, greatest news. And that is LSS is finally doing it. They are giving us doubles of every adult hero except for Mechanologist, which I'm sure we'll get to eventually. But we now have a new ninja and a new illusionist coming our way in Uprising, the official set from Legend Story Studios. Let's not turn this into an advertisement. I'm trying very hard. But I'm so excited about these cards. Matt, between the new Draconic Illusionist and the new ninja, which one are you more excited about and why?
Well, actually, I'm actually really excited for the Draconic Ninja. So my reason here, I'm excited for both, if I'm not going to lie. Even Icelander too. But
Icelander too?
I've never found myself that interested in Ninja.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, the deck just seems like...
I just don't like Katsu's like lines,
Kick, punch, kick, Kadachi, turn.
It's good. It's just great. Not... I don't like that play style that is limited to those specific lines.
It feels like a very two-dimensional play style.
Right, where like it's very readable.
Yeah.
If once you played against it enough, I don't like that. And maybe it's just me not having played enough Ninja, but I'm just not a fan of it. And I think that I would love to see a Ninja that doesn't rely on combos, or if so, they kind of just have them as finishers.
Yeah.
I would love to see something like that, where it's kind of like a lot of supportive attacks that are kind of just brutal, maybe punishing on hits, recursion, because it seems to be that there were some banish interactions with Draconic cards.
Yeah.
The Draconic talent has some graveyard synergy, it seems, with the what was the card? It was the 2 cost 6 power, right? That they spoiled. We talked about last week.
Gosh, what was it?
Well, in any case, I know it began with an S. Oh, Thaw. It was Thaw, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and you can banish it at the start of your turn or the end of your turn, I think. And at the start of your turn, you can banish it from your graveyard, and you get to like unfreeze some equipment or yourself or destroy a Frostbite. So it's really cool. Cool tech against ice. But I would like to see some other things like that. Ninja already has a few like play from the banish zone stuff. At least Katsu's pitch ability and Mask of the Pouncing Lynx kind of deal. And what's that new one? Break Tide, right?
Yeah.
That one also gets cards in from the banish zone, plays cards from the banish zone. So it's not out of the question for Ninja to do that. And the theme is kind of Phoenix-like, even though he was going to be a Draconic Ninja. So that's a very on theme with Phoenix, right? Rebirth, from the flames. So I full expect to see some cards playable from the banish zone or have interactions from there. Draconic Illusionist, though, Dromai, she's pretty sexy, though.
Yeah, I am so stoked for a new Illusionist because I just have a shitload of Illusionist cards. And I, obviously, if there's one thing I know about people, Matt, it's that they love dragons. So all these cards are going to be super expensive. The second this comes out, it's so weird because in my time playing Flesh and Blood, I haven't seen the level of hype for a hero before like a single card is spoiled as there is for Dromai. And they did, and I say that because the only spoiled card at this point seems to be a token.
A mythic token, by the way. A mega rare token.
Yes, they are only mega rares. There are no majestics. There are no mythics. They're only mega rares. That's an M, and the red M stands for 2 things: 1 mega, 2 Mario. Those are the only things a red M can stand for. And you know what? I was thinking about it, right? I was like, it's super weird for there to be a mega rare token. And then I was like, no, wait, Everfest had 4 of them.
Wait, what?
All the heroes.
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
They were all mega rare tokens.
How do you represent this card if you don't have the mega rare token? That's my problem with it, is that it is an object created by a card, which we don't know yet. There's no source on the card as to what would create it, but it's an ally token. Is it? Yeah, it's an ally token with 6 health, 6 power, and when it attacks a hero, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. He deals arcane. It says he deals arcane damage equal to twice the number of red cards revealed this way to them or an ally they control. So this tells us a couple things: is that this illusionist is not so worried about yellow pitch stuff. And more than likely, we're worried about red pitch stuff.
Yeah.
This also tells me that Talisman of Recompense is probably a good card moving forward. There he goes, going to buy some Talisman of Recompense. I'm going to TCG player in the background. Yeah, buy some cold foil Talisman of Recompenses. It's got to really play into the synergy of the deck.
It's already up to 10 cents. People figured it out.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, that's not...
It's pretty cool. I just don't know if they're going to print it as a token also, but it would be weird. Like,
it's a similar question though. Like, how do you represent, if you don't have an Icelander, how do you represent Icelander? If you don't have a Starvo, how do you represent Starvo?
What if it isn't a token slot, but it's harder to open? I don't know.
There's like a really undesirable white border art where it's just like,
I don't know. I really don't know.
Someone drew a dragon with like a pencil in 30 seconds.
It's just, I like the game state being represented accurately.
Same.
So when people just put dice out in Magic the Gathering to represent their like,
oh, that drives me insane. I can never tell when they're tapped.
There's 6 plants. I'm like, no, could you please put a card under that, like a square? It also just helps visualize, like, you know, represent.
It needs to be a rectangle,
right? So
I don't care who you are. It needs to be a rectangle.
Yes. So you know, if there's not a rectangle that says 6 power, 6 life, and all the text that, you know, Optimi has, I don't really think that's fair. You can't make a decision accurately if you forget that's there.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I guess we'll worry about it when Uprising comes out. But that's going to be really cool to see, like, more allies in the game, not just Ursa and Blasphemet.
Yeah, I think they're gonna be super careful about putting allies in the game, because they just, I mean, this is not really a game about permanence, and I know that's like a lot of people's main complaint with Prism is that it's a very permanent heavy deck.
Well, Illusionist kind of, you know, that's what it does, and it is an Illusionist.
You know what? That's interesting, because this is an Illusionist card, and also I don't know if you know this, but in Latin, Dracona Optimi actually translates to Dragon Optimi. And so, I don't know, that joke never works. It's really funny to me. But I do think this is interesting, right? Because it's Dracona Optimi, obviously, like, optimum meaning, like, the greatest. There's 3 dragons in this set. And so, like, and Dracona Optimi doesn't appear to be the central one in the art.
I believe it's the one on the far right. Am I not mistaken?
Yeah, so Dracona Optimi is one of the 3, but you would imagine that the center dragon is the big dragon, because I mean, if you look at him, he's just lava.
So if you look at some of the other materials for the game, like the releases for the stuff for the product, the other dragons have names.
Have we?
Yeah, so that one's Optimus, right? And the ability is to look at the top 3.
Is the other one Dracona Megatronus?
It's Dominus. And the other one, I believe, was it? I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, but it was another almost sounding like an ability, right? Like Dominate, Dominus. One of them was Optimus, right? And then there's a third one with a name that is reminiscent of an actual ability on, you know, Fav cards. So
it's like Crushimus.
Crushimus, yeah.
I'm kind of upset that that's not real. Dracona Crushimus, I'm all in for.
Oh, Arcanus, imagine. No, I'm just kidding. That's not it.
Okay.
Oh, right there, yeah. Look.
Oh, yeah, they just... Temeltai?
So I'm assuming it has something to do with Melt or Tome. Tome draw.
Yes.
Those are some theories I've seen. Where Tome is draw, Optimi is opt, and then Dominus is going to be dominate.
Yeah, that's interesting, because it's like Tome, Melt, and AI. It's like a computer that destroys books. I know. Yeah, that is interesting, though. So based on their names of Dracona Optimi, Dominia, and Temeltai, yeah, you get Opt, Dominate, and Tome. Yeah, okay. Yeah, nice. All right.
Sold on the conspiracy?
I'm 100% sold. Although I do believe Dominia, I'm going to be really upset. Oh, Dominia done by Steve Argyle.
Oh,
what?
Yeah.
I'm going to be really upset if there's not like a direct Godzilla reference.
You see that blue flame?
Yeah. That's the blue flame. That's a signature Steve blue flame if I've ever seen one.
Yeah. And speaking of Steve Argyle, the man, the myth, the legend himself will be at Pro Tour.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, signing all of your
tokens.
All of your tokens. And hopefully we'll see some infamous Steve Argyle alters of Icelander out there, as he has infamously done with Liliana of the Veil, his most prestigious work and well-known art.
Here's a weird question. I wonder if LSS is going to let him sign Magic cards there.
Good question.
Yeah, I feel like...
I don't know if... I don't know.
It's super like crappy if they don't, right?
Yeah, that would suck. I would love to bring my... If I knew Steve Argyle was going to be there, I would bring a ton of stuff for him to sign.
Yeah, absolutely. Have him sign your vest. Just have him sign Argyle pattern socks or something. I think that'd be really great. Although my sense of humor, I feel like, is slowly becoming undone. So what's interesting, right, is, and we had this discussion beforehand, right? The Young Fae art, he has the Phoenix thing going on. Drame adult art is just all scaly and dragony.
Don't forget the very, very long heels and boots.
Yeah, those seem inappropriate for dragon riding, but I've never done it personally.
I don't know. That dragon doesn't seem all that bothered by it.
Yeah, that's true. That's the key, is you got to balance your weight on the horns. So I would like to point something out, though. The ash dragon that she is holding in her hand.
Yeah.
Does that remind you of anything?
It's hard to see from here, but I can't say it does.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you're like 20 feet away from the screen.
Well, I can't say it reminds me of anything.
To me, it kind of looks like a spectral shield token.
Yeah, it'd be cool if that. Well, actually, hold up. So, I don't know if you've read any other text or like product release like sheets and stuff.
I haven't.
So the Blitz decks have some stores have posted like descriptions for the products, which is why they know that. Which is why they know that the Ninja is going to be Draconic. But when they described the play style of each, the Illusionist Dromai was described as using ash tokens to generate ash tokens to generate like I guess dragons, to help summon dragons. So she has to create ash tokens. Like I don't know what else they can do other than help you summon dragon allies, but it would be pretty cool if they had another ability or function or a way that a player could interact with it. What if it was an ally with like 0 power or something, right? And then there was a majestic in the set that, or a legendary, or like a weapon, right? That lets you turn your ashes into weapons.
Yeah.
But then now we just have Prism 2.0.
Yeah, then it's just Prism all over again.
It's kind of annoying.
I do think that spectral shields are very they're core to how Illusionist works. Well, we only have one Illusionist, but obviously all cards that interact with spectral shields are and this is really interesting, right? There are no yellow cards that interact with spectral shields specifically. Like some of them have an effect that's generated by a spectral shield. Like Prism, obviously you can generate a spectral shield with, but every card that specifically generates a spectral shield, whether it is the prismatic shield card or haze bending, is specifically a generic illusionist card. So it leads me to believe that spectral shields are inherent to the way that illusionist works, along with Phantasm.
I agree. I don't think, though, anything in Uprising will generate a spectral shield. Actually, you can see some of those ash tokens right there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, if you look at the art of young Dromai, which is actually really interesting, she's playing, I don't know how to pronounce the traditional name of it, but they're playing a game of Go, which is fascinating. And it leads me to believe that her deck might be, because Go, the strategies and lines of play can actually be a little bit more intricate than chess because of the size of the board. And it leads me to believe that maybe maybe I'm reading way too much into Kate Fox's art here, but it leads me to believe that this is going to be a very intricate deck.
Well, the game of Go is all about dominating the board, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
It's about taking over territory. And the what is the kingdom's name?
The kingdom of Volcor?
The region of Volcor, but the
specific kingdom?
Yeah, well, either way, the empire, or whatever you would like to call it, they have that card, Command and Conquer, and they're very like brutal regime. And they
have they named the empire?
Yeah, they have. I just don't remember where I read it, and I don't remember exactly what it was, but they definitely oppress people, and they have a very orderly military, right? Rank and file kind of deal, right?
Yeah.
And that's, I think, how her deck will play, with probably high power attacks, kind of like Heralds, right? And strategic moves like instant abilities, like Prism has on her hero card. Probably some instant auras, I imagine.
Yeah.
I don't know. She's probably going to accumulate a lot of ash on the board and use that to her benefit. And in constructed play, beyond just Uprising, definitely the shields are going to come in handy. Though she won't be able to use Luminaris, she still can use Phantasmal Footsteps.
That's true.
So I don't know if that's going to be helpful. If they'll. So here's a prediction I have as well regarding the legendaries for the set. I predict that there will be 2 legendary specialization draconic cards. One for, because there are 2 legendary shadow cards. One for Shane, one for Levia.
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be 2 legendary ones. One for Faye and one for Dromai, right? I don't know what they're going to do, but I believe that they'll summon those allies, right? Or do something to that effect, which is kind of like repeating the same old thing.
Is it Shenlahar? Is that what we're thinking of?
Shenlahar? No, I don't believe so.
Yeah, it seems to just be a random city.
No, I don't remember exactly where it was written down. Maybe I'm mistaken, but the
no, but yeah, you're right. That you think they'll do what they did with Eclipse, and then I forget what the
Doomsday is the one. Yeah, that summons Blasphemet.
That makes so much sense, actually. Especially, you know, I think they're trying to get away from bloat with legendaries. You know,
right?
So the last thing they want is every single CC hero to have like a $600 buy-in when you need 4 pieces.
For sure. You know, and I think also the other equipment, because I think it's 6 legendaries, if I'm not mistaken. And of course they would be one per deck if they're specializations. But I think the other ones will be a new wizard vanilla legendary item. Wizards sort of sorely lacking in new equipment. And then we will hopefully see a new legendary for Illusionist and maybe Ninja. So that makes 5.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll see a generic legendary as well. That's my hope. So I don't think we'll see another ice legendary, right? That seems a little too unnecessary and just maybe adding more to the Starvo Ultim card pool.
Yeah.
More than we need to. And also Lexi. But, well, that wouldn't be too bad. Help Lexi out a little bit. But I'd be interested in seeing a generic, a wizard, a illusionist ninja, and then specializations for the 2 new heroes.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think they're slowly getting to a point where they kind of want each hero to have 2 legendaries.
Right.
And I mean, Runeblade's there, Warrior's there.
Shit, Runeblade's got like 4.
Yeah, Runeblade does have 4.
Almost 4. Yeah,
depending on which Runeblade you're playing.
No, you can run Tunic and Viscerai if you wanted to.
Oh, yeah, you can run Carry and Husk and Chain. You can
do Arcanite Skullcap, Tunic, Grasp, and the Creepers. Yeah. I don't know any hero. Oh, well, Starvo probably has legendary. Oh, no, he doesn't have any legendary feet.
Yeah.
Feeties.
He wears tiny shoes.
Little booties.
Time skippers or no room boots, or occasionally you see him wear. Occasionally it's the Iron Hides, right?
Yeah, it depends on the matchup, but that's definitely a slide in for the hero.
Well, let's talk about the biggest thing with Uprising, at least for me personally. Paper boosters are back.
Oh, yeah, no. I think that's a mainstay. It's going to be awesome. I'm so excited. I wonder if history packs going to be paper boosters as well.
That's a great question. I wonder if they sent them to the printer before.
Good question.
You know, before they had made a decision.
Yeah. Well, we also are getting the Marvels in Uprising as well, and we do know that have seen one of the dragons have a Marvel. I imagine the other 2 dragons will also have Marvels. And since we saw what we think or believe to be the first iteration of Marvels with Starvo, right? His cold foil double-sided.
Yeah.
I believe that is one of our first introductions to them testing out the idea of Marvels. It has the mythic symbol, the majestic symbol, or, yeah. But I believe that it's inserted in the boxes at the Marvel pull rate without saying actual Marvel.
Just like, just like the majestic extended arts.
Right, yeah. So they have the same pull rates.
Sorry, mega rare.
Yeah, I think they share the same pull rate, but without actually being called Marvels.
You mean Mega Purple Rare?
Yeah, Mega Purple Rare, Purple Rare, Pro Rare,
Ultra Rare.
So I think that was a test of like that kind of style of inserts for the booster packs. You know, including the first ed Monarch and the Channel Lake Frigid. Those are Marvels essentially.
Yeah, I agree.
Those are the pre-Fab 2.0 Marvels, right?
Yeah. That makes 100% sense to me. I think that's exactly what they were doing. And in the background, I did look up History Pack 1. It does appear to be in foil wrappers because they're not advertising paper, and that might have something to do with History Pack 1 is actually a 36-pack box.
Yeah, it's a much larger box. I believe, like you said, they probably sent it out to the printers much earlier. But yeah, I mean, you know, if you're at a WPN store, they do have boxes now for booster wrapper recycling. So try to throw your trash in there if you open some History Pack 1. Not try to advertise for Wizards, but, you know, they do have those little boxes there.
They used to do a thing. So I don't know. So I never took part in this, but I think about it all the time. But they used to have a thing where you could mail in your old wrappers to Wizards, and there were like special basic lands and promo cards.
Whoa, that's sick. I didn't know about that.
It was a lot of mail for them to process, I'd imagine.
Yeah. Well, now WPN premium stores are being sent these cool square boxes where players can dump their booster wrappers into for recycling.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? That's very true.
You know, I think that the best way to go around about this is the paper packs, right? That's the future, I believe. As long as they can figure out the damage control here, because I remember seeing damaged product from Everfest. Not very frequently, but it did happen. But once they figure out, you know, how to fix those small inconsistencies and stuff, paper boosters are the future, man. Like, Wizards needs to get on top of that. The first iteration of the cardboard booster pack sucked. And players lost confidence in the product and just
those original Modern Masters
entirely. Yeah. There's so much damage, so much reinsertion, and you know, forgery of booster boxes and packs and stuff. It was insane.
Absolutely.
So,
and, you know, I was recently part of a test where I fill out surveys. It's stupid. Don't waste your time. Don't fill out surveys. It never pays off. It will like twice in your life. So one of those times was Wizards actually sent me one of their new cardboard boosters. It was like a Strixhaven pack.
Oh yeah, I've heard about these. These are very rare, actually.
I know I opened it. I shouldn't have. I still have it with like all the cards inside or whatever, and it's still in pretty good condition. But yeah, I do have one. I'll show it to you after this.
Yeah, I think you might be able to still value that pretty nicely, but it is a nice memento. Yeah, for sure. That's
they sent me a nice letter. There's like a nice letter too that guides you through like how you're supposed to open it and like what you're supposed to focus on. Yeah. It's really interesting, but those things sucked compared to paper boosters. So
for sure,
I'm hoping
the
that
Everfest boosters. First of all, oh my god, the ecstasy of opening your first paper booster was just chef's kiss.
Yeah, it's like it's that birthday present Christmas morning thing. They tap right into it. And I'm going to bring it up 100 times.
You hit it on the nail. It's like freaking Christmas morning.
They like acoustically tune the sound too. It's like
it feels like you're opening a gift wrap, like a gift wrap box. It's great. But also it's great for, you know, recycling because like, let's be honest, like, you know, maybe you don't give a shit about like throwing away your booster packs and stuff, but at the very least, like having booster paper packs will significantly reduce like the amount of plastic pollution, you know?
Yeah, I 100% agree.
Or foil or whatever it's made out of, you know, the regular booster packs.
Well, so there's a thin layer of plastic
it's so
film.
unnecessary.
Absolutely.
Right? It's like one of these weird small ways that cutting out, you know, the foil wrapping can, you know, long term make small differences. So it's nice to see companies going out of their way to do that. So they don't have to, but they did. So
yeah, it's like I don't know. Recycling to me is like stop signs. Everyone has to agree to behave a certain way around it for the greater good. You know, even though it inconveniences all of us.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm big on the recycle booster packs. I think that's really cool. So they're bringing them back, and it's awesome. So, Matt.
Yeah.
There is one more point that we didn't talk about yet.
What's that?
How do you think draft's going to work in Uprising?
Oh, yeah. Interesting. So, like, we have 2 Draconic heroes, 2 talents, right? Ice and Draconic, and only 1 hero for one of those talents, and 2 heroes for Draconic. You know, I think that it'll work just fine. You will, of course, have cards in the booster packs that are not really useful for your deck if you're not playing Wizard, right? Ice Wizard, Icelander, if you're drafting. But there will be plenty of generics for you to pick. But it does make it weird, though, right? So the idea is to have every booster pack have a card that you can pick, right? That's going to be useful to you, at least until like the late drafting point, you know, like pick 10 almost, right? Pick 9.
Yeah.
I mean, in Magic, sometimes the colors in the booster packs are super random, but never so much so that you're seeing like 5 white cards in a row. That never happens. So I think we'll see something similar where, you know, each booster pack will have about 6 generics in the beginning, like they usually do, or some number of generics, right? 8, I believe. And then it was like 9 and 10, 8, 9, 10 for the equipment and your 2 rares, which of course could be generics or your talent rares or class rares. And then you have the talents in the back, right? I think all of the generic, I don't know if we will have new wizard cards, right?
That's fair.
That would be interesting. I would like to see new wizard, ninja, and illusionist vanilla cards, right? Just not talentless class cards. But
that is interesting.
I'm not sure how they'll appear in packs, if we'll have commons or not. But I mean, like even in Monarch Booster Draft, like you could see a pack with like 2 light warrior and a warrior and an illusionist card left in it, right? And then what are you gonna pick from it? Nothing that's gonna help you, right?
Yeah.
The draft format was still a lot of fun. It was still very easy to form a deck, you know, with all the generics that you're picking early in each pack. So I think it'll be fine whether they include the talentless class cards or not. I think it'll be a very fun draft format.
Well, okay, so check this out. The more I think about it, the more that maybe they don't want draft to be balanced. Like maybe the idea is to reward players that are good at reading signals, because currently I feel like it's way too even. Like you run an 8-person draft pod, and then like if you're running like Arcane Rising or Welcome to Wraith or Monarch, it's like ideally there end up being 2 of each hero. And I would say that in 80% of the drafts that happens every single time. So the idea of a 3-hero pod with a weirdly skewed card pool, I think leads to, it rewards players that are capable of reading signals in drafts. So maybe that's the idea behind it.
But I also think that they can't make it so that, you know, even the worst draft player can potentially screw themselves, you know, where they have to draft, where they have to play like 12 cracked baubles. You know, that's like, I have done the worst I've ever drafted. I had to play like 7 cracked baubles, and I still won my first 2 matches. Yeah. But, you know, I don't think that they'll design the booster packs in such a way that that's even possible. I just, you know, even if you're like the worst drafter and you only know how to pick the card that looks the coolest for your hero that you already decided you're going to build no matter what, whether it's open or not, you know, I don't think that you can actually have an unplayable deck, you know?
Well, especially because there's one other thing I wanted to mention about Uprising is every set up until Uprising has been 14 cards in a token, and Uprising is actually 15 cards in a token.
Yeah, that should be interesting. That might be a big change in how the set's drafted. And there might be including an extra like a slot for a class card. Yeah, that would be interesting.
You end up drafting 150% of a deck, you know? I mean, obviously you can't play all of them, but I think that gives you a nice stretch. So yeah, I dig it.
Yeah, that should be interesting.
All right. Well, I think that does it for episode 7. Matt, do you have any final thoughts?
Uprising looks sweet.
Yeah, it really does.
I'm a little sad that, you know, I'm really sad that Viscerai got hit so hard, but it's kind of deserving. You know that we do have a few more questions that perhaps we can get a few quick fire answers for.
Sure.
If you're willing to go through and take a look.
Yeah, absolutely. Might as well.
Yeah.
All right. So this first one comes from Carlos. He says, how do you think Uprising Sealed will go? And I think, I think that that's going to be really interesting. I feel like it gives you some really weird, you're going to have weird options in this card pool, because obviously Uprising Sealed, you're suddenly looking at a 90 card pool to build a 30 card deck from. That's really cool. So maybe, I think, to me, it seems like every single hero will be viable out of a 90 card pool, but it's more about your ability to see small interactions among the cards you pulled.
When you say 90 card pool,
90 card pool.
Is 6 packs of 15 cards
plus a token. So yeah, since the other ones were 14 in a token and this is 15 in a token,
that would be 75, right?
6 packs.
Yeah. Oh wait, no, you're right. No, yeah, 90 cards. You're right.
Yeah. You missed one. Yeah, you're good.
So yeah, I mean, I think Sealed will be just fine.
Okay, Carlos also asked, and this is really interesting because I have thought about this for a while and I haven't come up with any results, is who do you guys think the front runners the meta will be after Starvo LL and why?
Well, I think not necessarily one hero, but until Icelander and the Draconic meta come, right, assuming Starvo hits Living Legend with Pro Tour, whether that, who knows what happens. But if that does occur, I feel like it's going to be a very aggressive meta. And I think that Oldhim and Bravo will have to sit there and gatekeep away, like, not gatekeep necessarily, but stave away a lot of aggressive decks, right? Because without the OTK plan, Viscerai is going to struggle against Guardians. But if it was Prism left alone to fend against an aggro deck, she would lose.
Yeah,
she would fade away. I
think Chain becomes the best hero, maybe.
Yeah, that's a high possibility. There's a high possibility as well that Chain actually does win Pro Tour, but we'll have to see what the spread is for Pro Tour on that day, on those couple days. But yeah, no, Chain definitely has a high win potential in the meta currently. And if Starvo gets LL, I think that Prism's going to struggle a little bit. Starvo was one of her best matches, and the meta is filled with Starvo right now, so she's doing all right.
All right, so Alex actually asked a great question, right? So he asks, if Draconic talent counters Ice, then what counters Draconic? Wouldn't playing Draconic talents by default be strictly the best? So this is fascinating, right? Because first of all, joke answer, the thing that counters Draconic is stopping, dropping, and rolling. However, we have seen we've seen the 2 Draconic cards, right? We've seen the one that directly counters the Ice cards. And then we saw the Dragon Ally. And what does the Dragon Ally do? It rewards you for playing reds. And what's incredibly strong against reds? Frostbite tokens.
So they beat each other.
Right. So they have exactly. Because I think Frostbite tokens, like if you have a handful of reds, suddenly you're pitching 2 cards to get rid of a Frostbite.
Talisman of Recompense Donks.
Yeah, right? It's at $4 right now. Buy now. Get in your order.
I think that there will be some really strong Draconic cards. And if I had to guess, just a total guess, no, not based on any information, but the fact that some of these cards can have an effect from the graveyard, I feel like there's going to be some penalties on some of these cards. Drawbacks.
Not quite blood debt, but something similar.
Maybe some arcane damage to yourself. Best be careful. Kano might play an Aether Wildfire on your turn.
Standing too close to the flame.
That would be hilarious if Kano hit you for 7 on Aether Wildfire right before you dealt arcane damage to yourself. I would cry. But that would be cool. I don't know. Some really low cost attacks that kind of burn you a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think, Doug, you've got it right. I think the strictly within Uprising, they will be able to counter each other. And I think it's more that Ice is really good against the Draconic heroes in that they need something to help them break out of like frost locks or frost bites. I think it's more the other way around.
Yeah.
That card Thaw is a tool, again, like an anti tool. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's, I don't know. I trust them with the balance of draft more than anything. I don't think they've released a single bad draft set yet.
I mean, some would argue Arya sucked, but it's, I think lack of Arcane Barrier just made it a much faster format. But it also was, I don't know, I think it could have been a little better if we had some ways to prevent Arcane like Spell Voids in the common slot. But yeah, who knows?
Yeah,
I think Uprising, the limited format will be fine. You know, we'll have to see. Obviously, it hasn't been released yet.
Yeah.
So, Dromai and Fae definitely seem like they could have cool abilities, although we don't know for sure. We hope that the Draconic abilities and Ice abilities stuff with Icelander are going to help shake the meta up. You know, but well, that remains to be seen.
Yeah. Have you ever? Now that I look at, have you ever noticed all the faces on the Flesh and Blood logo?
Sometimes.
Like a face there.
Not on the
face
sides,
there,
though.
face there.
Never really noticed.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Has that been there the whole time? We'll find out. We have a really big picture of the booster pack on the screen. That's actually really interesting. We'll have to look into that. See if that's always been there.
Any thoughts before we close out here?
No, I think we covered it all. And we know, as you know, they're probably 15 minutes away from dropping their next huge announcement.
Yeah, so guys, just after you hear this episode, when we drop it, it may sound like it's out of date, but I assure you we haven't heard the news yet.
Absolutely. All right, well, thanks for listening to Pitch Stack episode 7. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, peace.